We all need a place where our hearts can breathe at. This is where broken hearts heal, courage is born, and silence finds a voice. Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
A few years ago, I found myself standing barefoot in the middle of my living room at 5:12 in the morning, holding a cold cup of coffee I'd reheated 3 times already. My marriage was falling apart, my job felt like it owned me, and the silence in the early morning didn't feel peaceful. It felt like punishment. The world was still asleep, but my mind wasn't. It was wide awake, racing, panicking, planning. And yet something cracked open in that quiet. That silence wasn't empty, it was sacred. That morning, without realizing it, I had stumbled into a sacred space the early morning hours. And slowly, with no grand revelation or lightning bolt, those early hours became my anchor. They became the place where I found myself again. This is not a speech about productivity. This is a speech about presence. It's not about becoming a morning person. It's about reclaiming a part of your soul you didn't know was being drowned out by the noise of the day. You know what's wild? The world doesn't wake up all at once. It stirs, it breathes, it stretches. The wind moves differently in the early morning. Even the birds sing softer, like they know something we don't. And most of us are too busy sleeping through the quietest truths of our lives. I used to think the early morning was for overachievers, for people who had something to prove, for people who wanted to get ahead. But then life cracked me open. I wasn't chasing success. I was chasing sanity, peace, silence, something, anything that didn't make me feel like I was constantly drowning in the noise. That's when I found it. Those few sacred hours before the world wakes up. I wasn't waking up early to hustle. I was waking up because it was the only time I could hear myself think. And when I did, I realized how long I'd gone without really listening to myself, without checking in, without being honest. There's something incredibly human about sitting in the quiet when the sky is still a little gray. It's like the world is whispering, start soft, start slow, you don't have to race. And that whisper, that gentle nudge, it feels like grace. Not the kind of grace we earn, the kind we're born worthy of. Before the sun rises, before the traffic builds, before your name is called 100 times in 100 directions, the world offers you a gift, stillness. And in that stillness, you find truth. Not the kind you post about, the kind you sit with, the kind that says you don't have to prove anything right now. You're allowed to just be. Some mornings, I would just sit on my porch with a blanket and watch the light shift across the horizon. No music, no journal, just breathing. And somehow, in those moments, I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel behind. I didn't feel broken. I just felt here, present. The world whispers before it shouts. But most of us don't hear it. Not because we can't, but because we never slow down long enough to notice. We sprint from the minute we open our eyes, missing the very moments that could anchor us. So when you choose to wake up early not to be better, but to be more you, you start hearing those whispers again. And they remind you you're not invisible, you're not late, and you're not alone. You're waking up into something real. Something sacred. Something yours. We've been taught to treat mornings like performance stages. Wake up, get moving, check the boxes, hustle. But here's the truth most of us avoid admitting. We're exhausted, not just physically, but spiritually. Not because we aren't productive enough, but because we've forgotten how to simply be. You don't need another checklist. You don't need a flawless morning routine with 10 steps to success. What your soul needs, desperately, is space. Gentle, quiet, uninterrupted space to just breathe and exist without expectation. I learned this the hard way. There was a period in my life where I would wake up early and immediately go into performance mode. Make the bed, go for a run, answer emails, read 3 chapters of a self-help book, drink a green smoothie, all before 7 a.m., and people praised me for it. They called me disciplined and motivated. But I was hollow inside. I was ticking boxes, but I wasn't healing. Then one morning, I woke up and couldn't move. Not physically, emotionally. I sat on the edge of my bed, numb, and for the first time, I didn't reach for my phone or my planner. I just sat there. I cried. I stared out the window at the light breaking over the trees, and for the first time in months, I felt something like relief. That morning, I didn't get anything done, but I showed up for myself. And that was everything. You don't have to be productive to be worthy. Let me say that again, because we forget it daily. You don't have to be productive to be worthy. The early morning isn't an invitation to do more. It's a quiet plea from your soul to feel more, to rest, to remember who you are underneath all the labels and roles. Maybe your early morning looks like sitting with a cup of tea while the world still sleeps. Maybe it's walking barefoot in your backyard with no shoes and no destination. Maybe it's curling up in a blanket and watching the sunrise with tears still drying on your cheeks. That counts. All of it counts. When we stop treating morning as another race and start treating it as a reunion with ourselves, something tender and beautiful starts to happen. You stop carrying yesterday's weight into today. You stop waking up to chase perfection and instead wake up to offer yourself presence. You don't need to accomplish a single thing in those early hours. You just need to show up, open-hearted, gentle, willing to be with yourself in whatever shape you're in. Some days you'll feel strong. Other days you'll feel messy and unsure. Both are holy. Both are human. Both are welcome. Because when your soul has space, it will begin to speak again. And its voice won't sound like pressure or guilt or shame. It'll sound like this. I'm proud of you for waking up. I'm proud of you for staying. I'm proud of you for trying again. There's something deeply raw about the early hours, something that strips you down to your truest self. No makeup, no mask, no audience, just you. You in your oversized hoodie, you with your bedhead, you with the weight of everything you've been carrying quietly for years. It's in those early morning moments, when the sky is still hesitant to turn blue, that vulnerability finds its way in, not loudly, but gently. Like an old friend knocking softly at the door of your heart, asking, "Can we talk now?" Because let's be honest, during the chaos of the day, we armor up. We smile when we're crumbling. We say, "I'm fine," when we're absolutely not. We push the hard feelings down because there's no time to feel them. No space to unravel. No margin to fall apart. But the morning gives you that margin. I remember waking up once, long before sunrise, and just sitting at the kitchen table in complete silence. I hadn't planned to cry, but the tears came anyway. Not loud sobs, just quiet leaking from a place I didn't even know was still aching. And I wrote in my journal something that felt terrifyingly honest. I don't know how to be strong without pretending anymore. That sentence sat with me for weeks. Because it wasn't just about that one morning. It was about my whole life. About all the ways I had worn strength like a costume, performing it so well that even I believed it. But in the morning light, when no one was watching, I could finally take it off. And that's what early mornings do. They invite you to take off your armor, to admit things you've been too afraid to say, to feel what you've been numbing, to ask the hard questions you've been running from. Am I really okay? Why do I feel so empty even when everything looks fine? What do I need that I'm too scared to ask for? It's not comfortable. Vulnerability never is. But in the quiet of the morning, when the world hasn't yet demanded your attention, you have the sacred opportunity to tell yourself the truth. Not the edited version, not the performative version, the messy, aching, sacred truth. And when you allow yourself to be seen, even if only by you, something inside softens. Not because everything is suddenly fixed, but because you stopped hiding, you stopped pretending. You stopped abandoning the parts of you that just needed a moment of your time. Vulnerability doesn't require an audience. It just requires honesty. And the early morning is the safest place I know to practice that kind of honesty. So if you find yourself waking up with a lump in your throat or a heaviness in your chest, don't rush to push it away. Sit with it. Hold it. Write about it. Cry if you need to. You don't need to fix it. You just need to witness it. Because when you witness your own pain, with compassion instead of judgment, you begin the quiet work of healing. You ever notice how we wake up and immediately give ourselves away? Before our feet even touch the ground, we're already thinking about who needs us, what we haven't done, what we should be doing, what we're behind on. It's like we come into each day already depleted, already burdened by the weight of proving our worth. Again, we check our phones before we check in with ourselves. We scroll through other people's lives before we've taken even one breath for our own. We start tending to the needs of the world before we've even said, "Good morning," to our own soul. But here's the thing no one told most of us growing up: you are allowed to be your own priority. Not in a selfish way, in a sacred way. Waking up early and using even just 20 or 30 minutes for yourself before the noise begins is not self-indulgent. It's self-preservation. It's soul respect. It's an act of reclaiming, you are not a machine. You are not just what you produce. You are not here to meet everyone else's expectations while silently betraying yourself. You're here to live. And to live well, you have to start showing up, not just for work, for family, for responsibilities, but for you. The bravest thing you can do is show up for yourself first. Before the world needs something from you. Before you put on the face, the voice, the strength that everyone else expects. Wake up and be there for you. Some mornings that might look like sitting in silence with your breath and your coffee. Other mornings, it might be writing down everything you're afraid to say out loud. It might be going for a walk while the sky is still soft, just to remind your body that it's more than a vessel of stress. It might be opening your hands and saying, "I don't know what today holds, but I refuse to abandon myself in it." That is courage. Not loud, flashy, Instagrammable courage, real courage. Because you'll be tempted daily to rush past yourself, to take care of everyone else and everything else. To think, I'll rest when it's done. I'll feel when there's time. I'll check in with myself later. But later never comes, does it? When you show up for yourself early, even quietly, even imperfectly, you send your soul a signal: I matter too. Not just when I achieve, not just when I'm needed, not just when I'm loved by someone else, but right now, unpolished. Just me. And do you know what happens when you begin your day from a place of self-connection instead of self-abandonment? You walk through the world differently, you speak more gently, you listen more deeply, you love more honestly. You don't carry around the invisible resentment of always putting yourself last. Because you've already told yourself the truth: I'm allowed to be here too. It's not about having the perfect morning routine. It's about building a small, sacred rhythm that says, before I answer to the world, I answer to myself. That is not weakness. That is power. The world will keep demanding things from you. That's its nature. But your job, your holy, daily job, is to remember that your presence is not a luxury. It's a necessity. There are mornings when opening your eyes feels like lifting the weight of the whole world. Mornings when the covers feel safer than the truth waiting outside them. When grief sits heavy in your chest. When anxiety starts whispering before your feet even hit the floor. When life feels like a mountain you're too tired to climb again. And if that's you, if you've had those mornings or are living them right now, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not weak for feeling that way. You are human. And sometimes just waking up is the bravest thing you'll do all day. We live in a world that celebrates the people who rise with energy, who conquer the morning, who glow with discipline and hustle. But let's talk about another kind of rising, the quiet, trembling kind. The kind where you sit at the edge of your bed and remind yourself to breathe. The kind where you whisper, I don't know how, but I'll try. That is sacred too. That is strength too. That is worthy too. The sunrise doesn't rush. It doesn't crash in with fireworks or shout to prove its worth. It simply arrives, slowly, softly, steadily, and that's the metaphor I want to leave you with. You are allowed to rise like the sun. Some days you'll rise with fire, energized, inspired, ready to take on the world. But other days you'll rise with a flicker, tender, unsure, just barely pushing past the shadows. Both are beautiful. Both count. Both mean you're still showing up. What if you stopped measuring your worth by how fast you get out of bed or how productive your morning is? What if you measured it by this? Did I honor myself today? Did I meet myself where I am, not where I wish I was? There was a season in my life where I thought if I wasn't jumping out of bed at 5 a.m., journaling and meditating and jogging before sunrise, I was failing. But what I learned through heartbreak, burnout, and the slow, painful work of self-return is that waking up early isn't about how much you can do. It's about how gently you can hold yourself while doing it. And some mornings, That gentleness is everything. It's the first breath that doesn't feel like drowning. It's the sip of warm tea that tells your body it's safe. It's the reminder that you're not behind, you're healing. So if you woke up this morning, even if you didn't get out of bed right away, even if you're tired, scared, uncertain, you rose, you made it, and like the sun, you can rise again tomorrow, and the day after that. As many times as you need, you don't have to leap. You don't have to shine brightly every time. You just have to rise, because the truth is, there's always light on the other side of darkness. And it starts not with grand gestures, but with a whisper in the early hours of your soul that says, "You're still here." And that means it's not over. You may not control everything that happens today. You may not fix everything, heal everything, or feel strong every step of the way. But you can start gently, humbly, courageously, by waking up and offering yourself the same grace the sunrise gives the world. So here's what I want you to do tomorrow. Set your alarm just a little earlier. Not to be productive, not to be perfect, but to be present. Light a candle, sit with your coffee, write a few words, stretch, cry if you need to. Just be there. Let the silence hold you. Let the light touch your face. Let your soul know, I see you. I haven't forgotten you. Because that's where healing starts. That's where courage grows. And that's where you remember you are not behind. You are just beginning. Wake up, not just from sleep, but into your life. It's waiting for you.